Okay, this is a story about what the ice boxes used to be used for. When we first moved into the new house that Daddy had built, we didn't have a refrigerator, it was an ice box, and you had to have an ice pick, which you jabbed that great big block of ice, and that's how you got your ice for your iced tea. And the iceman used to come and deliver the big block of ice. He had these big vice things that had sharp points on it, and he would clamp the ice and then tote it in with one hand, and it would fit perfectly into the top of the ice box. So the ice would be in the top, and the food you were keeping cold would be in the bottom, because of course the cold air would sink. So we had an ice box for maybe, I don't know, maybe a year after we moved into the new house, but then we got a refrigerator that plugged into the wall, and it made its own ice up in the top part. Well, people came to visit us just to see our refrigerator. They had never seen one before, because this was way out in the country, and people had ice boxes, but they had never seen an electric refrigerator. And I remember it was a Philco, because I thought that was sort of like my name, Philco, right? With the Phyllis. So anyway, they would come and look, and in the top of it you could put 4 ice trays. And so we got rid of the ice box, and we had a refrigerator then. So we were really up and coming because we had a refrigerator. And the next thing that my dad got, he had by this time gone back to Virginia to work during the week, and he would come home on the weekends. And this was during the, they don't call it Korean War, it was the Korean conflict, not war. And he worked in the shipyard. They were building more destroyers. And so he came home one weekend, and I remember waking up on a Saturday morning, and it must have been in the summertime, because I remember it being warm and the front door and the windows were open. And I heard, what woke me up was the sound of this machine running. And I came into the living room, and I never forget, my daddy sitting there on the couch, and he was catching flies with the nozzle of the new vacuum cleaner. He would just do like that and suck them right out of the air. And you know, back then we had screens and everything, but all the going in and out the kids do, you'd always end up with flies in the house out in the country. And so he was just sitting there with that little nozzle, and when a fly would go by, he would just do like that real quick and suck it up in there. And I thought that was the neatest thing I had ever seen, because we didn't have to kill flies with a fly swatter anymore if he could catch them with that machine. So I thought that machine was for catching flies. I didn't know it was for vacuuming the floor. But anyway, we later found out that you could put the attachments on the end of it and vacuum the floor and suck up all the dirt. Now, my mother was, she was a clean freak. She liked everything really clean, so she loved that vacuum cleaner. Well, my dad went back to Virginia on Monday. Well, he actually went back on Sunday afternoon. But by Monday morning, of course, we would stay by ourselves in the new house with Mama and my older sister and me. And so Mama was vacuuming using her brand new vacuum cleaner. And the first time she used it, she forgot that it was plugged up. And so she was just going from room to room. It had a long cord, but the cord wasn't that long. So she was going from room to room. And the time she got into the front bedroom, she pulled it, and of course it pulled the plug loose from the wire. So Teddy had to end up fixing it, where she, put a new plug-in thing on the end of the wire, but she had just pulled it right out, because she didn't realize you had to unplug it and then plug it into another plug-in. So anyway, so that's the story of the vacuum cleaner. Our first, Daddy was real big on getting all the latest appliances. And the other thing that he did, which I thought was pretty unique, is he built Mama a lawnmower. Well, I'm going to say Mama, he built it for us. A lawnmower using a washing machine motor. Now, the lawnmower didn't have any guards around it the way the lawnmowers do today. And so when he mowed the grass, everybody had to stay inside, because a rock could just fly out in any direction and hit you. I mean, it was dangerous. But he used that for a while, but again, we couldn't be out in the yard while he was mowing the lawn, and it made a really loud noise. But it was a motor from a gas-powered washing machine. That's how he made it. So anyway, I think there are a lot of other stories on appliances that you might be interested in hearing. Things that my daddy bought and new things. He was always wanting to be, getting the latest thing that was out, because back in the 50s is when things like toasters and, of course, vacuum cleaners and real lawnmowers that you bought in the store that had the protective edge around them, all those things came out in the 50s, and people, the masses, were able to buy those kind of things. And so he was always coming home with some kind. I remember the first time he came home with an iron that plugged in. Oh, that was big, because up until then they had the little metal irons, and they would sit them on the stove to get hot, and then they would iron, and then you usually had 2 or 3 of them, and as soon as it would get cool, you'd sit it back on the stove and get the other one that was hot and continue your ironing. So having an electric iron was a big deal. So, but none of us children could be around it because you might get burned on it. So Mama really enjoyed her plug-in electric irons. So, all right, we'll be back maybe with some more stories.